Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to this special series of videos on natal planets conjunct the nodes and transiting planets conjunct the nodes. Originally, when I created these videos, they ended up being over an hour long where I went through the sky and talked about each of the planets. Now, what I've done is I've edited these videos down so that you can get right to the information that you want. Look at the exact planet that you want. I want to thank you so much for watching, and thank you especially for the suggestions that you guys give me on the videos that you want to see in the YouTube comments, on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and of course my website, nadiyashah.com. Please do keep those questions, suggestions, interactions, and positive energy coming. It really does mean so much to me. And if you like these videos, please share them. And of course, let me know online. Enjoy. So now let's talk about the outer planets. Uranus conjunct the south node, not an easy placement. This is about being rebellious just for rebellion's sake. This can also be getting caught up in false forms of rebellion. So this is like showing, expressing yourself to, like, by your appearance. Look how independent I am. Look how different I am. Instead of, because it's much harder to actually say to yourself, okay, true rebellion is honoring the voice of your heart and living true to that. That is true rebellion. And because so few people do it, although I've said before, more and more people are doing that than ever before, which I think is so awesome. And I think more and more people will continue to as we sort of step into our power individually and collectively more and more. But Uranus conjunct the south node can get us caught up in false forms of expression, especially in the early part of life. And so when I see something like this, you know, I say to people, depending on how interested you are in cultivating your, I have to say, cultivating your higher consciousness, in the early part of life, you might not want to go too crazy on the tattoos, okay? Things like that. Just be a little bit mindful, but this literally can be people who, just in the early part of life, are really desiring to look rebellious. And so when I see Uranus conjunct the south node, I say, okay, look, if you want tattoos, absolutely go for it. Enjoy yourself. However, just maybe do the really intense, heavy, the body pieces. Wait until you turn 30 before you start really investing in doing major pieces on yourself, because you might change your mind. And so with Uranus conjunct the south node as well, this can also indicate just being difficult when you're young, actually, or feeling like a total lack of stability when you're young. And sometimes that can just be an internal feeling. It can just be that inside you feel like you got to break free. I got to break free. I want to be free. I'm sick of being held back. I'm sick of these not being able to be me, even though you don't really understand what that actually means. And there's this thing about needing to be yourself, but not understanding that ultimately it has to be rooted in a sense of, it's one thing to be yourself and feel respected for it. It's another thing to just adamantly and be yourself without respecting others, right? So there becomes that sacred lesson there as well, that you can be yourself, you can express yourself, but do it in a way that also honors the people around you if their expression is different. And it takes a while to figure out just what that is when Uranus conjuncts the south node. So allow yourself a lot of experimentation as well. And that's why I say, try not to do anything too permanent in the early part of life. Uranus conjunct the north node, this is about you really stepping into yourself. It's been called, Uranus has been called freedom from who you've been conditioned to be in favor of who you've been created to be. I believe that was Jeff Green who said that. And really Uranus on the north node says that you've got to trust that process, even when it creates some really dramatic changes in your life. You've got to trust that process, that it's moving you in the right direction. And you've got to trust that it is that process ultimately that's not only going to be about you stepping into who you've been created to be, but also it's going to be about pulling you towards greater love and greater wisdom. The type of people that you might attract with this in early life, if you've got Uranus conjunct the south node, is just erratic people. lots of erratic people sort of come and go, and they really seem to come and go. These aren't people who necessarily bring a lot of stability into your life. If you have Uranus conjunct the North Node, again, this is a very sort of androgynous energy as well. So you may attract people with very balanced masculine and female energies, or just people who in some way, maybe their gender identity might even be different as well. And this can also be the type of people who they have an eccentricity, but they also have a genius to it as well. And they encourage you to summon your own genius energy. And this can really be just like radical free thinkers, but in a more enlightened sense, in a sense that they understand what it is that they're actually aiming to be enlightened about. It isn't so much about let's be free, let's revolt, but it's about, okay, what is it ultimately that is restrictive, and how is it that we can free ourselves? And so it becomes a much more personal process. These people will encourage you to step into the truth of who you are in a way that's not so much about turning over the system, if you will, rage against the machine, if you will. These people are going to be much more about self-knowledge, self-truth, living true to your own path, and letting that be more than enough of an example to others, giving permission to other people to do the same just by living your truth. These can also be people who encourage you to have some sort of impact on the collective as well, and to share in a much more broader sense as well. Also, I would say to this, a lot of really important connections you might make might actually start in the online world as well.